Do you know why some Africans are white with blonde hair? As you know, they originate from North Africa and they're called Berbers. Their European features have been subject to debate forever. Some believe it's because of the French colonization. Others believe it's because they traded European slaves. And some even claim it's because of the Romans. But a genetic study from 2005 might have revealed the answer. Researchers have found an intriguing genetic link between Berbers and the Sami people from Scandinavia. And this genetic link is only 9,000 years old. This confirms the theory that hunter-gatherers took refuge in southern France during the last ice age, from where they repopulated Europe. This is where the Berbers and the Sami took separate ways. The Berbers went south and the Sami people went north.
Hi lovelies and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome to Building the Verse. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload a video, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and also educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
Are North Africans considered white? French Montaigne is considered white. I'm sure in America and Europe and all over the world they consider him white. He's North African, huh? The tallest NBA player ever, Manute Bol, is from Sudan, which is considered North Africa. So he's white? Look, that classification was only for America. Even in Europe, they don't consider people from North Africa white or European. They consider them a different race. Okay, they consider them North African or Arabian. But North Africans could be white. I mean, North Africa is literally touching Europe geographically. And North Africans do come in a variety of appearances, but they do have similar appearance to the people of Southern Europe. But if we talking genetically, they're related to the people of Central Asia. Therefore, using the American definition or the definition of white, which means European, they're not white. Okay, all the dark green areas in the Africa region are considered North African regions, okay? And in those regions are some countries with majority black people. So to answer your comment, no. North African could be Arabian or African, and they could be white. And even the U.S. Census now, they got their own category for them, which is MENA, MENA, which stands for Middle Eastern and North African. But for the most part, race is looked at as a social construct, so if they look it, they'll be considered one of the guys.
You're wrong and right all in the same breath. We have many shades, but we don't have many colors. There's one color, and it's black, and there's multiple shades of black. You have to understand the reason why Africans look the way they do, dark, melanin, coily hair, longer limbs, bigger noses, bigger lips, etc., is because those phenotypes are needed for the environment in Africa. The UV radiation index is the highest in Africa because Africa globally sits in the south of the globe, which is closer to the equator. Most of the continent of Africa sits right on the equator. So when you try to say that they come in different colors, that's not true. They come in different shades, not colors. The majority of Africa is a black continent, period, point blank. And when you try to claim it's not, now you're whitewashing Africa. It's very sad that you don't know your history. The fact that you think Egypt starts with the Coptics is weird because there's 3,000 years prior to the Coptic identity showing up of Kemet thriving and being a black society. Clearly, for some reason, everybody around the world doesn't know what black means until they see a black person and they're able to be racist to them. So let's stop trying to whitewash Africa just so that way you can be comfortable in the narrative that's been given to you since birth. You are a settler. You are a colonizer. You're the descendant of a colonizer. You're not indigenous to Africa, period, point blank. And the fact that you think Coptics are the indigenous Egyptians tells me you're not indigenous to Egypt. Bye. Get out. Go back to your peninsula.
I hate how so many North Africans are obsessed with pseudo-Euronormativity. That's a terrible name. I'll choose a better name. But, like, for example, you'll see them choose the most white-passing people, like people with blonde or red hair, with green eyes, the most Eurocentric features, and act as if that is the representative of the entire Maghreb. Like, I'm referring to the region, not the country. And I single out the Maghreb because it's usually never Libyan or Sudanese people. Like, it's generally Algerians, Tunisians, Moroccans. Like, they'll fully pretend like this is a representative picture of the people who live in these regions. And some of it, I get, is just out of an aversion to Afrocentrics who are like, oh, Amazigh people aren't native to Africa, or North Africans are Arabs and that makes them invaders and so they should leave and go to the Middle East or whatever. Like, I get that. But it doesn't feel like just that. It very much feels like it's also due to racism and like a hatred of black people and darker skinned people. Like, for example, race is a social construct, but I can show you pictures of Amazigh people who have features that we generally associate with quote-unquote black people. Whether just because they're African and that's how genes work, or because they have ancestry from black ethnic groups. And the answer is always either one, yeah, they have these features, but they're not black because they're North African. Or two, yeah, they're black because their ancestors are from sub-Saharan Africa, so they're not really North African. First of all, there are a lot of black people who are indigenous to the Sahara. Like, excluding the fact that there are some Bantu people who live in the Sahara and they inhabit areas that no one was living in before, there are also an entire different group of people called Nilotic people. I think it's actually pronounced Nilotic, but they speak Nilo-Saharan languages. Not all Nilo-Saharan speakers live in the Sahara, but a lot of them do. And like, these are the same people who will gladly claim Gnawa music. Or they'll probably like claim Tinariwen, who are from Mali. But the second you say, hey, these people are North African too, these people are Amazigh too, then they're like, oh, no, they're sub-Saharan, they're not really like us. And just to be clear, because I feel like I haven't made this clarification yet, I'm not talking about all North Africans or all Maghrebi people at all. It's just a very loud and very annoying minority who have very little understanding of ethnic identity or linguistics or geography or really any of these topics. Like, yeah, it's fine. Like, push away Afrocentrists. Let them know that their ancestors are not natives of Morocco or Algeria or Tunisia. But that doesn't mean disavowing darker-skinned people or the black populations in these areas.
I will go ahead and bet you $100 that you will never be able to guess who she thinks we think we are. So it goes without a doubt, the video basically is this trend. You know how Africans are all celebrating Morocco now, the whole world? There's gotta be a bunch of people who they don't want to celebrate, but they also don't want us to celebrate. So what she did is, she went ahead and she made this video where she's talking about Central Africans, West Africans, South Africans, and she mentioned the colonizers, the English colonizers in South Africa. Anyways, so she goes, Central Africans, West Africans, East Africans, South Africans, and then she says, the North Africans think we're white. She didn't say Arab. She said white. Here's the thing. I'm going to go ahead and educate you using a little bit of Moroccan excellence. I'm not even Moroccan, but I'm going to use it since this is probably what sparked the attention. This is Hakim Ziyech with his mom. The tattoos you see on his mom's face, as far as I know, symbolize her Amazigh heritage. Native to North Africa. These people are not white. This is Ashraf Hakimi and his mom. Not white. Another picture of Ashraf Hakimi, who I think is his dad, and his mom. Not white. Another Moroccan player, Youssef Naseri. I really hope I said that correctly. Not white. Nusayr Mazraoui. Another Moroccan player. Not white. Now I'm going to go ahead and tell you there's a lot of people in North Africa that are white passing. Not once in my life, as a North African, as an Egyptian, Nubian, and Arab North African, have I ever looked at someone who's North African and they looked at me back and they said, I'm actually white. And to even start by saying that we are half a shade darker than colonizers in South Africa is insane. You're comparing us to the same descendants of the people who actually murdered our people. Coptics are native to North Africa. Amazigh, native to North Africa. Nubians native to North Africa. There's a lot more to North Africa and to Africa than just the skin color, and you need to understand this. This was a very distasteful joke, and it really hurts me that we still have to deal with this. Please understand, it is not funny.
I'm really glad you said this because I really kind of want to create like a little bit of a situation where both sides understand where the other side is coming from. So I really think that this whole take of like, if you are not black, you are not Egyptian, and you're not native is a very popularized online take. And it's like fueled by hoteps and like, you know, their conspiracy theories and their sites and their social media work that they do. But they do it in such a convincing way that people who would not identify as a hotep, because hoteps don't just focus on Egypt, they have other things that they say too, right? But because they make it so convincing and they spread so much misinformation and they play with people's emotions, or you know, that's what I have witnessed at least, that this take has been so normalized on the internet. And for me, someone who immigrated to America not too long ago, but had the opportunity to learn more about African American history and culture and people and make African American friends from all walks of life, it's easier for me to not fall into this trap of thinking that all African Americans believe this, or like, you know, that's just like, I don't generalize like that, you know. It's easier for me not to do that. But for people who don't know any African Americans other than the ones they meet on social media that may have this influence or this take, you know, people who don't live here, people who don't know real like people in real life, it may be easier for them to fall into this trap to think that they all think this way. I took the time to talk to some people in Egypt and in some parts of Europe who, you know, got this impression. And I just realized that a lot of them just don't know any African Americans in real life. Like everything they see is like these kind of people on the internet. And as we know, like the most ignorant people are the loudest on the internet. And they're also the most shared because it's so controversial. And then that's what you see. But you also see it without any context. Like for me, it was easier not to fall into this trap because coming here and meeting people and learning more about African American history gave me the perspective I needed to understand that this is really just the effect of white supremacy and oppression. And it's not the same like when white supremacists say that, you know, Egyptians were white. It is not the same. It does not come from the same motive. But a lot of Egyptians who don't have any concept of that, or don't know any Americans or African Americans, don't know the history, don't know anything of that, it is so much easier for them to fall into this trap. But we also need to acknowledge that this take is so normalized on the internet, where big creators that I respected who are not Hotep make fun of non-black Egyptians who say that they are native and explain the culture and explain why the culture changed. And that's just problematic.
You cannot be more African than a North African, simply because the word Africa comes from North Africa. So therefore, the closer you are to North Africa, the more African you are, because the word originates in North Africa is actually North African word, number one. Number two, I am tired of hearing Westerners trying to tell us who's indigenous and who's not, and who's white and who's black. You have an identity crisis issue, and that's your fucking problem. You have a problem of self-hatred, and you have a problem of associating things that are not, you know, synonymous. You're associating black and Africa. There is a lot of black people that are not Africans. There's a lot of Africans that aren't black. So your ideology is not only colonial, it perpetuates the transatlantic slave trade definition of race. And even if you would like to talk about, oh, the transatlantic slave trade, you know, it first attacked North Africans. That's who it enslaved first. Yeah, it enslaved lighter Africans first. So once again, your entire white versus black is not only colonialism and Western propagandist point of view and a dichotomy. You are like literally perpetuating and doing what you say that you hate. You are a racist. You are a fucking racist. And once again, I will say this to you as well. African American doesn't mean necessarily that you are indigenous to Africa, because indigeneity is a tie. If you have been severed from a place, you lose the status of indigeneity. So as an indigenous person born and raised in Africa, with family in Africa, speaks the language, and has a lot of history, I'm tired of Westerners like your fucking self trying to tell me what the fuck I am or what the fuck I'm not. Because at the end of the day, you're an American. You are a Westerner. The difference between you and Becky or Jessica is that you have black skin. That's all. Like, but the behavior and the way you think and the way you talk to indigenous people across the world, we are tired of y'all Western fucking entitlement and then playing identity politics the second we call you the fuck out. You are a colonizer and you're an imperialist, and it doesn't matter if you're black or if you wear braids or if you think that, oh, I'm going to use the victim card to justify being a bigot to indigenous people. I hope that fucking helped you, Koki. I also guess it's okay to erase black North Africans, Tubu people, Tuareg people, and other people that are indigenous to North Africa and are dark. I guess that's okay to erase black North Africans and dark North Africans because you have decided to attack lighter North Africans. I guess that's okay. Well then, following your actually what you want to use in your genetic markers, every single pharaoh is a European. Because there is a lot of genetic markers that are shared across humanity. So every single pharaoh is a European. I hope you feel good about that. How does that feel? Or no, you gotta steal the pharaohs in Egypt. You gotta steal those ones, right? In your process of trying to erase North Africans, you're erasing also the darker ones and the black ones, showing that you don't give a fuck about black people or Africans or darker North Africans. All you care about is your fucking bigoted narrative to put you to sleep. So I hope you heal. And I hope that you find a sense of identity that does not involve North Africa, North Africans and their indigeneity. That involves your problems and your issues and your history. Have a good one, Kaki's mom.
Let's get straight to the point. The conversation around whether North Africans are white, black, Arab, Africa, indigenous, or something else has become one of the most chaotic, misinformed, and emotionally charged debates on the internet. And it's not because the topic is complicated, it's because people keep mixing American racial categories, European ethnicity, and colonial era definitions with thousands of years of North African history, identity, and lived reality. The first mistake people make is trying to apply the American binary of black versus white to a region that never operated on those terms. The United States created its own racial heritage, its own labeling system, and its own way of sorting people into racial boxes. It is a system shaped by slavery, segregation, and one-drop rules. It is not a global standard, it is not even a useful tool for understanding Africa, the Middle East, or Asia. So when someone says are not Africans white, they are using a framework that was never designed to describe the people they are talking about. North Africa, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Libya, Egypt, Western Sahara, Mauritania, Sudan is a region with thousands of years of migration, mixing empire, language shift, inventions, intermarriage, and indigenous continuity. You have amazing people with lighter complexion, amazing people with darker complexion, Tuareg populations with deep millennia, to born groups with Sudanese phenotypes, Arabia's communities of every shape, Afro-Arab communities, and people who do not fit neatly into any racial box created by the West. And when someone online says North Africans are white, what they really mean is, do they look like Europeans according to American eyes? That is not anthropology, that is not history, that is not even correct socially. It's simply an American projecting their own categories onto a region with its own identities. Europeans don't call North Africans white. Middle Easternians don't call North Africans white. North Africans don't call themselves white. The only place where someone might throw that label around is in American paperwork, and even that is changing. The US Census finally had to create a category called MENA, Middle Eastern and North Africa, because North Africans told them loudly and repeatedly that they do not identify as white. They have never. But here is the deeper point. Race is socially constructed. The labels shift depending on politics, geography, and context. A person can be seen as white in one country, as non-white in another, as indigenous in their homeland, and as ethnically ambitious somewhere else. None of this changes their ancestral history or identity. Let's take an example. French Montana is Moroccan. In America, some will call him white because he's lighter skin and not Africa. But go to France, Belungu, the UK, Spain, ask them if they consider North Africans white. They don't. They see them as Mahabri, Arab, Muslims, Africa, anything but white European. The same applies in the Italy, Greece, Portugal, and Germany. The European definition of white is not elastic, it's historical and cultural. Not Africans are outside of it. Now look at someone like Matumbo. Sudan is geographically part of North Africa. His people, the Dinka, are among the tallest and darkest skinned populations in the world. Are they white? Obviously not, but they are also North Africa. This proves a fact people keep pretending not to understand. North Africa is not a race, it's a region with multiple ethnicities, skin tones, and histories. Trying to turn North Africa into a monolith racial category is not just wrong, it erases thousands of indigenous peoples. The Tura are known for their indigo clothing are black amazing. The Tubo of Chad and Libya are some of the oldest populations in the Sahara. Many Sudanese groups descend from ancient Nubians, some of the world's earliest civilization, and yet, when someone decides that North Africa means white, they erase all of these people in one careless statement. Now, let's talk about the deeper frustration coming from indigenous North Africans, because this is the part being ignored. Many North Africans, both lighter and darker, are tired of Westerners trying to defy them, tired of Americans speaking with authority about a region they have never visited, nation they misunderstand, and histories they only learn through Nollywood stereotypes. Tired of people in the West deciding who is indigenous, who is Africa, who is Arab, who is black enough, who is white person enough, or who counts as Africa based on American racial rules. The word Africa itself comes from North Africa. The Roman province of Ephraia was located in modern-day Tunisia and parts of Algeria and Libya. Calling a North African less Africa than a sub-Saharan African is historically absurd. Africa is a continent with massive diversity. You cannot be more Africa or less Africa. You are Africa because you are from Africa, full stop. But there is an even deeper wound here. Some North Africans feel erased. They feel attacked. They feel that people online try to deny their indignity, deny their African identity, deny their history present, deny their languages, deny their cultures, and reduce them to Arabs imported from Middle East. This is inaccurate and insulting. The vast majority of North Africans, even those who speak Arabic, have significantly indigenous amazing ancestry. Arabization was culturally and linguistic, not a mass replacement of population. When someone online says North Africans hasn't Africa, it's not only wrong, it's colonial thinking. It comes from the same mindset that divided the continent into white North Africa and black Africa to justify who was civilized and who was primitive. Europeans invented that division, and many people today unknowingly continue to repeat it. This is why North Africans push back. They are not just debating history, they are fighting to undo colonial narrative that classified them as not fully African. The situations get even more heated when African Americans or other diaspora communities speak on North Africa identity without understanding regional contexts. And this is where emotions flare. Some North Africans feel that diaspora voices, especially American voices, speak down to them, impose African frameworks on them, or treat them like they need to be educated about their own continent. To them, it feels patronizing. It feels like they are being told what they are and what they are not by people who have never set foot on African soil. And yet, on the other side, you have African Americans responding from their own historical trauma. They come from a lineage severed from language, land, culture, and ancestry. They seek belonging in Africa. They want to reclaim heritage stolen by slavery. But sometimes, in that desire, they adopt simplified ideas of Africa. ideas that don't match the continent's complexity, and when not Africans push back, it feels like rejection. That is why discussion blew up both sides and are reacting to pain, displacement, identity, and misunderstanding. Now, let's address the accusation thrown in the viral rant. The idea that American racial obsession perpetuates colonial logic. The speaker argues that the associating black with Africa and white with non-Africa is a Western ideology, and there is truth in that. Ancient Africans didn't divide themselves using the American idea of race. Egyptians didn't call themselves black the way the term is used today. Amazing people didn't call themselves white. Nubians didn't classify themselves in American racial terms. These categories are model and their Western invention. So when someone insists that all Africans must be black in the American sense, they are unintentionally reinforcing colonial stereotypes. The continent has always been home to a wide spectrum of appearance. The Horn of Africa has its own phenotypes. The Sahel has its own. The Sahara has its own. North Africa has its own. Southern Africa has its own. Africa is genetically the most diverse continent on earth. Any attempt to squash all of that into one racial image is reductionist. Now let's turn back to the core issue, identity policing. The speaker accused black Americans of trying to erase lighter-skinned North Africans, but in reality, the erasure goes both ways. Some people erase dark-skinned North Africans, others erase amazing people. Others erase Afro-Arabs, others erase pre-Arab civilization, others act like Islam defies everyone in the region, others treat Arab identity as something foreign, ignoring the century of mixing. Everyone tries to fit North Africa into narrative that suits their own agenda. Meanwhile, the people who actually live there, who speak Tamazight, Danjera, Danrija, Hazayan, or Sudanese Arabic, are stuck watching outsiders argue over who they are. The truth is this: identity in North Africa is layered, ancient, and complex. It cannot be flattened into white or black without doing violence to history. They are lighter-skinned indigenous North Africans. They are dark-skinned indigenous North Africans. They are Arabians, indigenous people. They are fully Arab families. There are black African populations in the Sahara and Sahel who migrated north. There are amazing tribes who never adopted Arabic. They are not Africans who look like Mediterranean. They are not Africans who look like East Africans. They are not Africans who look Saheli. They are not Africans who look Middle Eastern. All of them are not Africa. All of them are Africa. It's also important to understand why North Africans get defensive about indigenists. For centuries, Europeans labeled them not only truly Africa to justify colonizing the continent. They were treated as Arabs, as Middle Easterners, as Persia Europeans, as Levantinians, anything but Africa. And when model people repeat those labels, even unintentionally, it hits a history nerve. At the end of the day, whether North Africans are considered white depends entirely on who is doing the considering. America use one system, Europeans use another, Africans use many more. North Africans themselves define their identity through culture, language, tribe, region, and ancestry, not through American racial rules. But the simplest truth is this: North Africans are Africa in all their diversity, and no one outside the region has the authority to erase that. That is the heart of the entire debate.
And if you have watched up to this extent, thank you so much for all the love and support. Don't forget to please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. Alright, lovely. See you when I upload the next video.